This is Chris Martinez for Sonoran Desert Institute, and today I'm talking about how to accurize a Remington 700. So the first question is, would I test or bench test this rifle with the customer's permission? I don't think I would bench test the rifle forehand, but this is also something I was a little lost on in the text. Um, I I feel like you should, because the text had two parts to where you would shoot to know the barrel's accurate, but then you wouldn't know if it was accurate if it wasn't bedded right in the first place. But then you wouldn't waste your time bedding the rifle if the barrel wasn't accurate. So I was a little lost in that aspect. Um, but the gist of it that I got was that if you shoot the rifle before it's bedded, then you will not know if it's actually accurate. But then you shouldn't waste your time bedding a barrel that's bad. So I'm thinking that you would do an initial inspection of the barrel and determine if you see any wear that's severe, and then make your first assessment from there. If it's really bad, you wouldn't waste your time testing it. You would get a new barrel and bed it, then test it. But if it was in a decent shape, test it, see how accurate it is, and then bed the rifle. So the procedures for checking the crown, the muzzle, say to put the buttstock on the ground and then inspect the rifle from like a 30 to 40 degree angle, which would mean to put it like this and then look at it at this direction so you can see inside and have the light showing so you can see the edge. I would also want to use a bore scope and look at the barrel up close. Sometimes your eye isn't always the best tool. So when you look at the barrel, you'll be looking. Let's see if I can get to focus. You'll be looking down in that area, and you'll be looking for burrs, chips, circumferential burrs going around the outside, and you also look for chips along the crown or the muzzle. And so if you've got burrs on circumferential burrs on the inside of the barrel, it'll need to be lapped to try to smooth those out and get rid of them. But if your barrel is chipped, depending on the degree, you may recrown the barrel, or if it's bad enough, some material may have to be removed to get the recrown to, like, some more material may have to be removed to, when you're recrowned, to get it to set right. So with the copper fouling, you'll just need to take a like Cu2 copper remover and thoroughly clean the barrel out to remove the copper fouling from the barrel. And you'll want to do that before you do any kind of lapping or anything like that. If the barrel is rust pitted, then the barrel is useless, and you need to just pull the barrel and replace the entire thing. So another thing to inspect is the locking lugs and the contact they make on the chamber on the inside of the barrel. So I'll be using a Ruger precision rifle to demonstrate the procedure that I would be doing. Let's see. So with this gun, okay, so you'd remove the bolt, and then on the back side of the bolt, on the back of the lugs, right here, there, and there. Of course, the Remington 700 bolt will look different. This is just the procedure you would do. You'll put machinist die on the back of these lugs, and then you will reinsert the bolt back into the gun. Move the action up and down a couple times. And pull it back out. And then on the back side of the lugs, you'll see if the die is worn off, rubbed off, not worn off, rubbed off, then they're making contact with the chamber lug. So if there are spots where it's worn off, say on this lug, but then this lug still has all of the die still on it, then you'll need to lap lugs. And so what that would be is taking like a lapping compound and you rub it on the back of the lug that had the die worn off of it, because that's the lug that needs to be worn down, or the two lugs that have the die worn or rubbed off of them. So then what you would do is once you've got, and you'll start with a coarser grade, maybe a 220 and or a 400, and then what you'll do is insert the bolt back in the gun, and you will proceed to work the handle up and down 40 to 60 times, at which point you'll pull the bolt back out, clean the bolt off, clean the inside of the chamber back off, and then you'll put your marking die back on the lugs again. Put the bolt back in the gun. Work it a couple times. Pull the bolt back out and check to see if the die has been rubbed off evenly on all the lugs. Once you start to see it wear off evenly, you can then apply a 600 grit, like a fine grit lapping compound to the lugs, and that way you'll on the ones that aren't wearing, and then that way you'll very finely bring them into even instead of taking off more material than you need to. And then one of the tricks to use when working with a Remington 700 is you want to put an empty casing inside of the gun when you do the actual lapping, this part, because it will keep everything in line. Without one in the chamber, then the trigger pushes on the action and slightly moves everything out of line.